We're trying this again. And if it lags, we're just gonna have to deal with it, honestly. Because I don't really know what else to do at this point. So I'm just gonna try and stream until I get this picture done. I tried resetting my iPad and deleting some files I didn't need on here, so maybe that'll help. We'll see. So, because I don't know what's up with it. Usually it'll be good for like an hour, but lately it's been like deleting like so much shit, or it's been like just stopping like within like within 15 minutes and shit. Sorry, I'm like thinking about 15 different things at once. So give me a second. Okay. Hopefully this works better. Anyway, please continue asking questions. We'll see how long this stream lasts. Ask me something that'll ease my rage. Oh, Lord. They're supposed to be fun, not stressful. Let me make some fun gifts for my friends. How'd you start your art journey? I mean, I've always liked doodling, like, as a kid and all that. I've always liked, randomly, like, just doodling whatever. I got serious about art in, like, 6th grade, because I'd see a bunch of, like, YouTube videos of speed paints and stuff, and, like, back then I was really into Warrior Cats. So I saw a bunch of that, and I'm like, I'm gonna be a famous Warrior Cats artist. Watch me go. So that's how I got started. At least got started taking it seriously. Pray for this stream that it does not last 15 minutes. I mean, that could be what it is. It could be like storage space, because after a while my iPad does get cluttered with me having like just so many photos on this damn iPad. So it could just be a space issue. Like, I don't know why it would be a space issue, because I'm not recording these streams. It's live broadcasting. But, you know, we'll just say it's a space issue. Because apparently that space issues causes a lot of issues on technology, so that's probably what it is, honestly. I need to go through and, like, do a hardcore clean out of a bunch of my useless files that I have on here. Because I will tell you, a lot of my issues just come from having so many, like, references and all sorts of stuff from, random stuff, and like a lot of duplicate images and stuff, and then I just forget to delete them. So they just stack up after a while. But it's okay. I'm gonna just deal with this. was the biggest hurdle you had to jump over in your art career, and how did you overcome it? Oh, that's a good question. I need to think about that. Biggest hurdle. I think maybe one of my bigger hurdles, I think, was transitioning from doing warrior cats art to human art. And I think also there was just this one I wouldn't say is a hurdle, because it was just something I was dealing with for a while, just getting used to it. But like, one thing I struggled with was trying to figure out I need to stop trying to get so salty that I don't get like a million comments every time I post something. You know, and that like that I should just appreciate what I do have and enjoy drawing for myself, and not feel like the 10 people who watched me were obligated to comment every single time I posted something, because it's not like I do that for everybody who I follow. And that was just something for a while. It just took a while for me as a middle schooler at the time to get used to that. And then once I did, everything helped a lot with, you know, it helps a lot with your self-esteem, and it helps a lot with appreciating when you do get comments and things like that. Have you ever struggled with your physical health, like losing weight or something like that? I mean, yes, I have knee issues, or I had, I did have a lot, like some knee issues during 7th grade, and that was a huge thing to deal with. And then I had, the more recent of the two, in like 9th and 10th grade-ish, a few years ago, for some reason, my body just decided, you know, we're going to develop today, guys. We're going to develop arthritis. And not just arthritis in your fingers, but like everywhere. And that's been probably one of the worst medical things I've had to deal with, even compared to the knees, because it is still, like, even my knees, at least right now, knock on wood, I'm not dealing with my knees directly right now. I mean, they affect my life, but at this point, all the actual medical stuff is kind of in the past. But with my arthritis, I still have to deal with the fact that, like, to deal with my arthritis, I have to take medication once a week. And the shot that I have to take for it is so not a shot you get excited for. I mean, not that, like, people get excited for shots, but, like, you know, at this point, I've gotten so much blood drawn. Normal shots, I'm fine with. I couldn't care less anymore. But, like, the shot I take for my arthritis, it's the kind of shot that burns when you inject it. And so it is not something I look forward to. And it's a doozy. And I don't like doing it. And I wish I didn't have to. But right now I do. And right now the whole goal is to hopefully maybe my body will stop. Well, I can ease off of the medication I'm taking, and for a while I won't need it, but chances are I will still need it at some point in my life, because I'll probably have flare-ups, and right now I'm still on it. So I've been on it for a couple years now, and so that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And I also learned the magic of, like, why steroids are so powerful. Because for a while they were trying to figure out what was wrong with me, to help alleviate my symptoms so I could actually, you know, go to school and function as a human being without being miserable, they gave me steroid pills. And what I took was a tiny amount of what, like that's the kind of stuff they'll give to, like, people for much more serious stuff than I have, to keep their, like, strength up and to keep their symptoms away from bothering them. And so I had a tiny dose compared to what people like that have, and yet the second that pill was in my system, I felt like I felt like I had just been born again. Like, I felt like I had never had more energy in my life. Like, that shit is powerful. I can, like, I sat there and I'm like, you know what? If someone said they were addicted to steroids, I would not be surprised anymore. 'Cause those things are, like, flippin' powerful, dude. But anyway, yeah, so that's probably the thing I deal with the most is the arthritis and shit. And it still frustrates me this day as I don't know where it came from, and I'll probably never know that answer, and I really wish I did, because that's the thing that's irritated me the most. It's like, what happened that made me have to suffer this fate? Like, what chemical reaction happened in my body that caused this? I'd love to know. I have a lot of health problems right now. I'm drinking water and working out every day. I lost a lot of weight super fast and I'm worried. My appetite is almost nothing compared to my old diet. Well, I can't obviously give any advice on that because I don't know your situation. But I hope you're okay, and I hope you're talking to doctors and stuff like that. Oh, goodness. What's your relationship like with your parents? I have a pretty good relationship with my parents. They've always been pretty supportive of me and, like, very helpful and stuff like that. Obviously I've had histories, you know, like, stuff in the past. I've had some issues and all that stuff, but never, like, I have a good relationship with my parents. And they're great people. It was the vaccination. Oh, goodness, okay. My biggest struggle health-wise is balancing art with other things I need to do. Like, once I get the idea, I need to draw as soon as possible. Yeah, I get that. I've had that before where it's like when you're, like, super sleepy. I've also, unfortunately, and this is something, don't do this, kids. It's not healthy. Is sometimes I'll be so into drawing something that I put off eating a little while for it, and I don't do it a lot. It's just sometimes it happens and I don't realize it, and I'm like, I should probably not let that happen as much as it does. So, because that's not healthy. Swoop, swoop. Tail swoops. Swoopity swoop swoop. Oh, I'm real focused right now. I think the only time I ever had something irritate me was that one time. I'm not going to name who they were, but when I had arthritis, and, you know, we're going to doctors trying to figure out what it was. Now, the thing was that they did... The one thing I do know about my arthritis is that it was autoimmune. So, in a way, it's my body attacking itself. From what? Who knows? But, you know, so it's an autoimmune thing. But the one time I've had somebody who, like... I think probably one of the few times I've genuinely got offended by something was that I had somebody in my life at the time, I'm not going to name who apparently, like, behind my back was saying that, I probably have arthritis because I don't move a lot. And that was one of the few times where I was genuinely offended by something, because it was just so... Because I know I'm not a very active person. I'm extremely lazy, which is ironic because I am skinny as a goddamn twig. But it made me really upset that they would imply that I somehow got arthritis, which is just solely because I didn't move around a lot. which arthritis does come from not moving a lot, but it doesn't, that's not like the only reason arthritis happens. Like, there's a lot of other factors that go into having arthritis. Like, you can say that like a lot of obese people, they get arthritis, but they don't just get arthritis because they don't move around. They get it because typically their weight puts so much pressure on their limbs, and then they don't move around a lot, so the arthritis can kind of develop, and then because of the arthritis they don't move around a lot, so it's like a catch-22, and they gain more weight and it's catch-22. But I think that was the only time, because I don't, like, I do not get offended easily. Like, I really don't. I don't get really all that offended when someone uses the wrong pronouns. I don't get offended because, like, especially, like, even my family, I don't, that stuff generally doesn't irk me that much. But that was, like, the one time in my life where I was, like, I was genuinely upset because, well, like, I've had other issues kind of like that before, but I got over it pretty quickly. But that one irked me so much because it's like, no, this arthritis that I'm feeling everywhere in my body is not that I just suddenly developed out of nowhere, is not from just not moving around a lot, because if that was the case, it would have gotten better because I'm moving around so much in school and shit. Like, and that, it just made me so angry that someone would imply that just because I'm not the most active person, that is why I have developed a chronic condition. Like, it just made me extremely angry. Especially because doctors have told me otherwise, So that was, anyway, that's a random side tangent, but I was just thinking about that. It can be genetic, but something triggers it. It's what happened to me. My meningitis, it triggered chronic migraines because genetics. Yeah. Health is honestly a very, very complicated thing, and that's why I disagree with anybody who tries to, like, self-diagnose people. I mean, there's some people where it's like you can see symptoms and compare, and you can kind of say, like, educated guess kind of thing. But I am strongly against people self-diagnosing themselves with stuff, because things like that are so complicated, and medical stuff is such a confusing, ever-changing thing. There's stuff we didn't know 10 years ago, And, like, people do not realize how far we've come in the medical field over the past couple of decades. We've come, even just the past couple of years. And it's quite phenomenal, but, like, diseases are such a complicated thing, and it really drives me insane when there's people who say just like, oh, well, you got sick or you got this because you just weren't really all that, like, healthy, or you weren't eating your vegetables, like, because a lot, like, again, that stuff, this doesn't to say that can't happen, you gotta eat your vegetables, kids, but, like, some things are just genetic and it's built into DNA. And some things are like, like you said, they're DNA, but then something triggers it. Or some things are psychological, or some things, there's a lot more to it than just the black and white, this is healthy and this is not kind of thing. And that really ticks me off when people act like that, like, there's a simple answer for everything, you know what I mean? It's like, it's like the people who, because, I'll be real with you. I am someone who does believe that there is an extent to where obesity can sometimes be caused by things a person can't control. And that obesity is not always caused by just being lazy, like some people think. I think there's more to it than that. Again, I also don't agree with, like, people just, getting obese and being like, I'm going to get surgery to fix it. I don't agree with that. But I do believe that there is a lot more to some people's obesity than just being lazy. There are people out there who are just lazy, but it's not always that. And it's like, just, it's medical field has always been something that's, like, fascinating to me. I could never go into it. I'm like just a bit too squeamish for it. But it's always been something that's like fascinated me, and it does drive me insane when people act like there's a simple answer to literally like to every single thing. Like, oh, you feel you have this symptom? Well, it's definitely just because you don't go out into the sun enough. You know, for sure. Couldn't possibly be anything else. Like, you know. Anyway, that's a tangent, and I'm tired, so tangents are common. Now I can actually start coloring this. That's a feat. Oh, goodness. We've made it all the way to the coloring stage, guys. Ain't that phenomenal? Hang on, is there anyway? Sorry, I'm looking for holes. Anyway, I'm sorry we keep going on these like really intense, serious tangents. I can't. Somehow, I can be a serious person sometimes. All right, coloring time. She's got pretty simple colors, so hopefully this won't actually take all that long. Yeah, you guys can still ask questions if you want to. Sorry, I went on like 2 different tangents. Because now we're getting to the coloring, and that's a bit more relaxing, so... Then if we're lucky, we'll get to shading, and everything will be fun and joyful, and we just... And I can... And honestly, if this does go better, knock on wood, then it's possible that Mom Crush just acts weird because I needed more space on my iPad, which would make a lot of sense. But we'll see. What do you do when working on lighting? Like, do you mean like what do I do for when I do highlights, or do you mean like just lighting and shading in general, like light sources and all that? Like, yeah, which one do you mean? Highlights and light sources. Okay. Well, for highlights, I work a lot more with shadows than I do highlights. I've just always personally, it depends on what I'm doing, but for most drawings I work with, I find that a lot of them don't need a lot of highlights, and that a lot of them can be portrayed well with shadows. And oftentimes I'll just save highlights for the things that really need it, because I feel like, because here's how I feel. I feel like when you put highlights on literally everything in a picture, and this does depend. I'm not saying that this is like an end-all be-all rule, because it's not. But I feel like for a lot of things, when you put highlights with the same kind of intensity on everything, it makes the things that are actually supposed to be really shiny, like, not have as much oomph. You know what I mean? Which is why I usually only save highlights for hair, depending on the hair. I'll usually do something, and even then it will be pretty faint. And I'll usually save my really bright highlights for things that are like reflective surfaces or shiny surfaces or like metal, stuff like that, because I feel like when you save it like that, it can make it makes it pop more, and it actually, when everything else is more pretty simply shaded and a bit softer, when you really highlight that metal, it'll read as metal, and not just like the same kind of material everything else is made out of. So, that's just my personal opinion. There are exceptions to that. Like, typically, if I'm working with a character with, like, really dark colors, I'll actually focus on highlights a little bit more because, in those cases, it's a darker character, so you can't get a whole lot darker than that character already is. So, in those cases, I'll actually put more focus on the highlights than the shadows, because that way it'll help the character as a whole, like the whatever I'm drawing, pop better than if I just relied on shadows. So it is a varying thing. It just sometimes it depends. And also, like, I like playing around and experimenting as well. Like I did recently, when I was doing my mermaid stuff for like my deep sea mermaids, I wanted them to look very spooky. So I thought it would be a very perfect opportunity to work on doing the really bright rim shadows. Because I don't do those a lot, but I do like those when they're executed properly. So I'm like, I'm going to use this as an excuse to work on them. Hey, isn't that a brilliant idea? So that's what I did, and I really like that result. So a lot of it does depend on what I am actually drawing. Just typically for, like, pictures like this, like I'm drawing now, that don't have, they're pretty basic pictures and they don't have a whole lot of detail or background to them. I'll typically just follow pretty basic rules and pretty basic, and default to a lot more things I'm more comfortable with, or like a bit more into my comfort zone. But I do play around with it whenever it comes to actually drawing like scenes, and especially when it comes to dramatic lighting, because dramatic lighting can be a lot of things. It's fun to play around with. When it comes to light sources, a lot of it, for one thing, the first thing you usually want to think about is what kind of mood you're going for. For example, if you are just going for a general, like for a lot of pictures, I will usually use a general kind of ambient light. So my light source is usually pretty vague. Like I don't have a direct spotlight. It's just kind of like pretty simple, pretty wide light to work with, because it's good for like simpler drawings and things like that. When I am, however, when I'm working on a picture that's more dramatic, I'll usually pick like lighting that better fits the mood, in some way, you know what I mean? And it's fun to play around with. Usually for light sources, I like to say, if you're not sure what to go with, just sit down and think about it, play around with a few things. Because there's a lot of different ways you can go when you're playing with light sources, so, don't be afraid to play around with it. I hope that helps in some way. I am a little bit tired, so I'm sorry if my advice is not on point today. What type of characters are most fun to draw? I mean, there's a lot. I'll be honest. There's a lot of different characters I love drawing. I don't even think there's really one character type I would say I have that is like most fun to draw over all others, because I found fun in a lot of different things, just depending on what it is. So I don't think I could give a solid answer on like what is my favorite kind of character to draw. I will say I definitely do like drawing kind of monstery characters, or characters with a lot, like very, very unique faces. I like doing that a lot. I like drawing characters with fun hair that isn't like super overly confusing to interpret, I do like drawing characters that can kind of be open to interpretation a little bit. That's for commissions mostly, since a lot of my characters do have references. I like drawing characters that are pretty flowy a lot of the time, because I think they're just a lot more fun to pose and to work with. And I like characters with fun color palettes. So all of my likes are very vague, as you can see. I'm not a very picky person. I don't know what her actual blood color is, but I'm just gonna assume that it's this kind of rosy, like orange color that I'm working with, and Mitchie can yell at me if I'm wrong. Her lips supposed to be the same color or like a lighter color? It's all pixely, I can't really tell. I'm assuming they're supposed to be a little bit lighter, so we'll just go with that. And you know, we'll make that the color of her nails just because I can. And just because Mitchie can't stop me. I'm gonna adjust myself a little bit here. What program do you use on your iPad? I use Procreate. It's a real good program that everyone talks about too much. Do you still have your Horsemen of the Apocalypse that are kids? I do. I do indeed. They're not yet in the story that they are a part of yet, but they will be someday, and I still do have them, because they're my good beans. Do you have an inspiration? I got a lot of inspirations. I've had a lot over the years, and I found more. The original one I started out with was River Spirit, and then it just kind of grew from there. I have oh, excuse me. I have Keyword Bird's a huge inspiration for me. There's a oh jeez, how do you say their name? They're on DA. It's. I'm trying to remember their name so I could spell it rather than say it. It's like Luigi. I can't. I'm so sorry. I can't say it. But there's another artist on DeviantArt who does like really fun fantasy world building stuff. So they're a big inspiration when I do like fantasy kind of world building stuff because I think they just have a lot of fun ideas. So they're an inspiration there. There's others that I'm not going to try and name because I'm going to get their names wrong, but like, because I don't know, I'm so weird. It's so hard for me to remember names, and I'm just like, I feel so bad, and then I get like thrown under the spotlight. It's like, I know this person, I swear. I'm just horrible with names. So, and we're gonna make this a slightly different color for her skin. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to fill in the green with something more bluish. Greens and blues sometimes can be a bit tedious to work with because, like, the line art colors I pick don't usually look very nice against them that they do against, like, normal skin tones and warmer colors. So I always have to go back and I have to go, like, pick a different color and change the line art color a little bit. Ooh, my iPad is getting a little bit toasty here. How many of these gifts have you made already? This one would be number 4, I believe. Yeah, this one's number 4. I've done 3 others before this. And hopefully I'll do the rest in stream if my lovely streaming program won't kill me. Trying. Let me just play around with some of these colors a little bit just for funsies. Just for funsies. Alright, now we can shade, guys! Please, Mob Crush, don't crash me. No, I don't want to rename the layer. Hang on, let me readjust. I'm sitting back again. Okay. I pray, internet gods, let me keep streaming till the end of this picture, and then you can crash on me. You have my permission to crash when I'm done. The video you made where you made the peanut butter and jelly and the sandwich because I'm classy is now an inside joke between me and friends. Yeah, that was a fun video. That video is an old treat. Do you read any books? I read some, but I'm also, like, super picky. Unfortunately, I don't read a whole lot of books. Yeah? Okay. Okay. Love you too. Sorry, that was my mom. Sorry, there's silence. I don't know. I have no idea what to talk about now. Shush! They're in progress. Don't judge me. I'm doing my best. Do you have any other mediums that you like to use? Watercolor pencils? I used to like pencil sketch all the time. I don't really do it anymore. I've gotten like I really like doing digital and it's really hard for me. And I've never really liked painting all that much. You know, and I've never really liked, I like sketching still. I just don't really do it as much anymore because I have such easy access to my iPad and stuff like that. But generally I don't like I don't really watercolor or anything like that. I've just never really liked painting all that much. As weird as it is. Sorry I'm so quiet. Like getting all honed in. No, the hair. Can we have a story time? Well, I don't really know of any story times I have that are like decent. Yeah, you're still, everyone else feel free to ask questions and stuff. I'm sorry, I'm not like, I can't think of any real conversation topics right now. Tell us about a good childhood story of yours. I don't really have any. I didn't really have like a very super interesting childhood. Like, there's so many people who can whip out like all these crazy stories from when they were kids. I don't really have a lot of those. That weren't like, haha, my life sucked. So, any animes you like? I used to have a lot of animes I would like and watch. Like, I used to be really into Italia. Um, Stuff like that. But nowadays I'm not really all that into anime that much anymore. I'm not really into a lot of shows anymore. Just because I don't know why. I just don't have, like, it's really weird, because it's not like I don't have the time to sit down and watch them. I just don't really feel like it. Like, I'm never in the mood to sit down and watch them. So, I haven't really been into any real shows lately. Of any sorts. Well, there are a few, but, you know what I mean. How do you actually go about shading the hair? Well, I mean, it's kind of just, like, I don't know. I guess I'd have a similar thought process to when I shade about anything else, really. I mean, like, when I have the segments, it's just a matter of, like, thinking about what's on top and where it would go. Um, and, like, some of it is just, it's, I just think of the hair a little bit more as a shape sometimes than I do, like, every individual strand. I just think of it kind of, like, as a general, like, shapes. And then I go from there. I once accidentally ate a bee. That sounds painful. Owie. Karen, I'm not reading, like, everyone's comments except yours. I'm not reading out everyone's comments out loud. And also, there's a lot of comments I'm missing because I'm drawing at the same time. So it's not a personal attack if I miss your comment. Any pets? I've got 12. Or I got a 12-year-old. I got 12. I have a 12-year-old doggo. I do have a few pets. I have, I have a dog, and then I have, like, 2 cats. So, yeah. I have put this waist at a very awkward angle, and now I have to figure out how to live with my mistakes. Okay, let me think. I need to do the face. I've like avoided doing the face the whole time somehow. Okay. Um. Let me think. How do I want to? Yeah, I'll keep it that way. I'm probably gonna fade these colors out a little bit. Now we go into the second layer of coloring. Yay! Where we whip out my pencil and we make it look all cool and hatchy, I guess. I have no idea. I just do it. I don't really think about it. I can talk to you. I'm just working, so I don't have anything else like to say right now. My iPad is getting hot. Any tips for drawing with feathers? I'm not the best person to ask for that. I'm trying to get better at feathers myself. My only like quick tip would be like um would be to just make sure you don't make a common mistake I see is people making feathers look like leaves. Um like having them end you know at a point or having like this certain like leaf like spacing. Uh so I'm definitely not the best person to ask for that though. There's probably better like tutorials out there and stuff for it. Leaves are just plant feathers. Have you finished your finals? I have actually. I mean, I pretty much I'm graduated now, so I would hope I finished my finals. Favorite mythical creature to draw? I mean, I do like I do like drawing dragons a lot. There's a lot of mythical creatures I like drawing. I would like to draw more griffins, although I'm not very good with birds, to be honest. Like in general, I could be better with birds, but I do like drawing dragons though, even if that's the cliche answer. Sorry, I keep missing so many questions. I'm like, I thought this shading was gonna mean I would talk more, and then I didn't. It was a lie. It was a ruse. Are you kidding me?